Community Relations Advisory Board in Glen Rock. I'm actually here today not to speak on behalf of that group. These are just my personal opinions, to make that clear. I'm also calling for the end of for-profit prisons in New Jersey and our termination of the ICE contracts. I feel the same way as many of my fellow residents that these are not reflective of the values of Bergen County, and that we really need to be upholding and celebrating the dignity of all people, and that this is counter to not only my beliefs, but the moral code, and one that we would look to uphold in Bergen County. I understand that there's obviously a lot of money to be made from these contracts, and I would really love to hear more options about how we could make ends meet so that we're not dependent on those contracts. And so we are able to kind of focus on, again, our morality and our values instead of, being dependent on that money. So, yeah, that's basically those are basically my feelings, and I'm going to be watching this issue closely and looking to you all really for leadership on these issues. So, thank you so much.
I'd like to just say one comment before anyone else comes up. We keep talking about the ICE detainees, but there's two aspects of this. A lot of them are criminals that have been sent over from Rikers Island that have committed violent crimes. We need to do the research to understand that it's not just the people. Matter of fact, I don't even know the numbers are even down from what they were at the beginning of the year as far as the undocumented immigrants that have been detained in our prisons.
Why don't you know?
First of all, you're out of order. I'm not done when I'm speaking. You'll have your time to speak at the microphone. At the end of the day, the contract between the sheriff and the marshals is to take overcrowded prisoners from Rikers Island. That's what this contract was formulated. None of us agree with the president's policy and what they're doing, but at the end of the day, we've said numerous times the board's position. The board's position is if they have to be kept somewhere in Bergen County, they're closer to their family, they're given every opportunity to get a lot of things they wouldn't get if they were shipped to a nonprofit further away prison. We understand that it's a passionate subject that everyone wants to talk about, but remember, they're not all people that are undocumented. Some of these people are prisoners. They're being held before they're deported for doing violent crimes in this country. Thank you.
Kathleen Jerome.
Once you switch on, jump backwards. No.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Jerome, and I'm from River Edge, and I'm talking about the ICE contract too, but I am talking about the freeholders, and I did listen to what you said, Freeholder Tonelli, that you don't know who is in that prison. I know of green card holders that are in that prison.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I think as the freeholders that care so much about this money, you have a responsibility to know who is in that prison, how many of them are violent offenders, because I think it's less than half, okay? And where the money is going to and where it's coming from. What the contracts are, and we've asked several times and people don't know. Now, as an aside, so that's your responsibility, okay? I can do research, we've done research, and we know it's not all violent prisoners. But as an aside, I want to tell you a story. I wrote a letter to the editor, which someone else in the group is going to read. And the afternoon it was in, I got a call from an older woman in Paramus, a resident, a citizen, and she said, I'm 78 years old, and the Paramus police put me in jail about 10 years ago for something I hadn't done. I won a court case to get out and to stop the harassment. And she said, it was 5 days. It was only 5 days, and I still remember it now, 10 years ago. So you are taking people, some people, even if it's one person, you are taking some people who are civil offenders and putting them in jail. This is not a camp, this is a jail. Putting them in jail for up to 2 years. so that you can get $110 a day for them? I am passionate about it, but I think the very least you could do is find out what the percentage of really violent criminals in that jail are. Because if you find out that it's even 20% of civil offenders or green card holders or people that should not be in that jail, and you are keeping them there so that you can make $110 a day, then you are not doing your job. Because you should know. You're in charge of that money. You should know. Thank you.
So when I say I don't know is because the number is always fluctuating. Every month the number changes based on who's brought here and who's not here. But I will get the number. So I will have the number the next time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Madam Chair, can I also just point out, you phrased something in a way that's not sitting well with me, and I just want to articulate. We are not putting these people in prison. We are not incarcerating these people. They are coming to us through the Federal Marshal Service. They're going to be incarcerated somewhere. The philosophy of this board, and as you see, if you look at our agenda tonight, where we're approving $200,000 in pastoral care, an increase due to the fact of the increased census that we have in the jail, mostly on the ICE detainee side. We are providing services for them. We're making sure that they receive legal counsel, that they have contact on first friends, that they have access to due process and to the legal representation that is appropriate. And we have law library, inmate care, all of these things, if you went through our budget process this year, was increased. All of these are things that we would rather them be housed in a way that is sensitive to their needs and enables them to continue to be in contact with their families than to be shipped off to North Carolina or to Syracuse, where we've seen other closures happen. None of us, as Freeholder Tonelli said, are happy with the immigration policies that we're seeing. But it is bail reform, which is a wonderful thing, that has enabled us to have more space in our jail so that people can be housed in a way that is humane in our jails. So I am not, I want you to think we're not sensitive and that we're not in tune to the needs of those who have immigrated, who are being held there. But we are not incarcerating these people. And the way that you phrase that flies in the face of what's really the reality. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Maxine Absol. You're listening, please. APSEL. I've lived in Bergen County for over 40 years. My husband and I resided in Ridgewood and now Glen Rock, and I have never, until this year, come to a Freeholders meeting. In the last 2 months, I've been to several of your meetings, and I've never wanted to speak until now, but again, the ICE contracts and the sheriff's budget and my own experience of employing and befriending people who were helping me to stay in a very comfortable life in Bergen County, retired, aging, a senior citizen, dependent on immigrant services for manicures, for alterations, for gardeners, for housekeepers. I have knowledge of people who have come to this country with or without documentation. I don't know. But now, being a news junkie, watching the programs every day, including hearing the new acting head of the Division of Homeland Security on TV this morning, talking about how there will be an increasing need for detention facilities as a result of the new Homeland Security policies that are, as we speak, accelerating the numbers that none of us can seem to keep track of. And
the children and families that none of us can seem to keep track of, although according to today's headlines, we can keep track of who goes to protest meetings. I would really like to know from each of you how this increasing population of detainees is going to affect your attitude and your approval or disapproval of the sheriff's budget and of the ICE bed contracts. And if I have time, I would like to read you Kathleen's letter that appeared in yesterday's record. So I would like your answers. Is that from my time or from their time? If you answer me, does that come out of my time?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like your answers about how the ever-increasing number of detainees, ever increasing.
That was 3 minutes.
Okay, the requirement for the bed contract is going to escalate. I'd like your response. How are you going to react to that?
Yeah, well, we'll respond at the end.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brill.
Marinus Broekman, B-R-O-E-K-M-A-N. I live in Fairlawn, and I was coming here initially to talk about styrofoam and plastic bags, which I know you would all like to ban in Bergen County. And I'm waiting very eagerly until that really happens.
Both inputs, 1 and 2.
But I also am very concerned about 2 other things. The Bergen County or Hudson County power plant that's going to affect the life in Bergen County very adversely. And the ICE, excuse me, and the ICE contract. The ICE contract, as I understand it, is a contract between the sheriff, who is under your jurisdiction. You approved the ICE contract. The budget for the sheriff. Do you?
We approved the sheriff's budget.
You approved the sheriff's budget. Okay. The ICE contract is an appreciable portion of the sheriff's contract. The ICE contract money seems to be somewhere, but nobody knows exactly where it goes. But most importantly, the ICE contract is money that comes from the federal tax monies. So what you're actually doing is you're taking federal money and squirreling it away somewhere. And I think that you should really be concerned about where that money comes from and where it goes. As a taxpayer, I object to the non-disclosure of these items. Thank you.
Chairwoman, just to address the budget issue. So the ICE revenues in 2018, I think were somewhere in the neighborhood of $16 to $17 million. With regard to the county's overall budget, to operate the jail on an annual basis is $48 million. The sheriff's overall budget as a department or a constitutional officer is close to $80 million. So with regard to the notion that somehow the money is being squirreled away, it goes into the general revenues from the county, and then it's redistributed for all the services that the county provides. But just from the numbers alone, just to make it clear, the ICE revenues there's no profit in the sheriff's department, because again, the jail costs $48 million a year to operate. The sheriff's budget is $80 million a year. Overall county operations is close to $600 million a year. So just to make that clear, there's no squirreling away or not accounting for where the revenues are.
So, I'm
Mark,
sorry.
Mark Olson.
I would like to know, because of what you said, I would really like to know that $16 million comes in and you have not disclosed where it goes.
Mark Olson.
I'm sorry, just to make something again.
You need to respect.
Apparently the gentleman didn't understand. The revenue portion of the budget goes to operate all of the county operations. I see some people understand, maybe you can explain it to him afterwards. But with regard to the ICE revenues in isolation, that does not cover the overall operations of the jail or the sheriff's budget. Because overall, to operate the county, all of the services that are provided, from trash pickup to medical services, is close to $600 million. So that $17 million just becomes a part of the overall revenues, which is roughly about $130 million outside of what's raised through taxes. So I just want to dispel the notion that there's somehow squirreling away of ICE revenues.
I would like everyone to please respect the speakers. Everybody has their 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes, and then the next speaker. If you need to speak, you fill out one of these papers. Thank you. Mark Olson.
Hi, thank you. I'm Mark Olson. I'm the chairman of the Richfield Park Green Team, and I'm involved with the Sustainable New Jersey Bergen Hub efforts with regard to styrofoam. Another lady is going to speak in a minute, and I would just like to say, I'd like to thank you on behalf of all municipalities who've received money through the BCUA Recycling Enhancement Grant. And I'd like to read them. There's Pagoda, Emerson, Inglewood, Fairlawn, Glen Rock, Leonia, Oakland, Richfield Park, Teaneck, Tenafly, and Washington Township. On May 11th, Richfield Park will have its Earth Day celebration. We're slightly off from the actual Earth Day because we need to work it with the tides so the river keeper can get their boat up the river. And that's going to be the first day of our recycling program. Our containers here, the sign's going to be ready, and I'd like to invite you all on May 11th to come to Richfield Park for the first day of our recycling program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cassandra Worthington.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Worthington. I'm here, I'm an organizer with Food and Water Watch, and I'm here delivering a letter to you all with our 37 organizations that have signed on to ask you for a resolution against the Meadowlands Power Plant. You have heard us many times come up here from many of us saying, talking about the health issues, the respiratory health, the reproductive health, and the ecology of impacts that this project would have. So today I would like to read just how many organizations are signing on and asking you to pass this resolution. Food and Water Watch has thousands of members here in Bergen County, but together with all of these groups, we have many, many thousands. So just so you know, it's 350 New Jersey R, Bergen County Audubon Society, Bergen Swan, Citizens United for Renewable Energy, Climate Mama, Climate Reality Project Leader, Coalition Against the Pilgrim Pipelines New Jersey, Displaced Homemakers Network of New Jersey, Conservation Chair of East Jersey Chapter Trout Unlimited, Environment New Jersey, Ethical Culture Society of Bergen County, Food and Water Watch, Franciscan Response to Fracking, Genesis Farms, Green Faith Central Bergen Circle, Sustainable Bergen, the Climate Reality Project Northern New Jersey Chapter, The Way, Unitarian Universalist Faith Action New Jersey Environmental Justice Committee, Water Spirit, Hackensack Riverkeeper, National Council of Jewish Women, Bergen County Section, Coalition to Ban Unsafe Oil Trains, New Jersey Coalition for Climate Justice, New Jersey Highlands Coalition, New Jersey Sierra Club, New Jersey Tenants Organization, New Jersey League of Women Voters, Temple Emmett Social Action Committee, New Jersey Industrial Union Council, Northern New Jersey National Organization for Women, North Jersey Pipeline Walkers, Occupy Bergen County, People of Healthy for a Healthy Environment, Resistance Cafe, Ridgewood Jolt. And I would also like to invite you on May 18th, students all around Bergen County and Hudson County will be marching together, calling on you, calling on the governor to reject the Meadowlands Power Plant. You've worked in tandem with the BCUA before. We really are asking for your help in terms of working in partnership with them on all of this stuff with the Bergen County Utilities Authority, having a sewer pipeline into the plant. We really are asking you, since this affects the health and our safety, for your work in what is under your purview here, and also to pass a resolution against the Meadowlands Power Plant. Thank you.
Just want to remind everyone, please speak slowly, because poor Kim, the stenographer, she can't type at that speed, please. Thank you. Harriet Sugarman.
Thank you. My name is Harriet Sugarman. I live in Wyckoff, New Jersey. I'm the executive director of Climate Mama, which is a national organization. We have thousands of members here in New Jersey, including in Bergen County. I'm here this evening to remind you again about your responsibilities to the residents of Bergen County in your role of protecting our health and our safety. I'm here to ask you to join the towns, all the organizations mentioned this evening, in passing a resolution against the proposed Meadowlands Power Plant. You heard in previous weeks from others in our coalition how North Jersey and New York City consistently rank in the worst metropolitan areas in the U.S. for ozone levels, the main ingredient in smog that can trigger asthma attacks. More than 735,000 of our state residents, including thousands here in Bergen County, suffer from this disease and other diseases and illnesses attributed to ozone pollution. You oversee the administrative code of our county. The code established many departments, including the Department of Health. And as a reminder to all, I'm going to read several sections from the administrative code. The Office of Health Promotion shall include, but shall not be limited to, community health by assessing the health needs of community, mobilizing residents, identifying resources for health promotion initiatives, formulating and implementing action plans to improve the health of our community, acting as a community information resource, and conducting outcome-oriented evaluation strategies. Outcome evaluation strategies. The administrative code also sets up the Office of Public Health Nursing, which shall include but shall not be limited to such programs as chronic disease prevention, employment health unit, special child health services, maternal child health, and supervision of special projects. Also, the Office of Environmental Health, that shall include but shall not be limited to such programs as environmental protection and supervision of the Right to Know Act. So the administrative code also sets up the Department of Public Safety. I'm not going to read because of time on that, but clearly as the body that oversees the provision of funding for these departments, it would seem to be part of your job to see that these departments use their funds wisely as part of their mandates. So they should be sharing news and information about this proposed polluting project that will directly impact the residents of Bergen County. And on behalf of all the residents of Bergen County, isn't it your job and that of the county, as per the administrative code, to help protect our health and our safety, our right to know how this plant will impact and increase the toxic burden on our children and on our public safety? So isn't it your job to make sure that all residents of Bergen County have the right to know what we face from a health and safety perspective? So we invite you to join us and ask you to pass a resolution against this proposed power plant. And you've heard over and over again that there are no benefits to us here. Thank you.
Jenny Feliciano. I'm the environmental chair for Women for Progress. I'm a mom of 3 living in Wyckoff. And I'm here to talk about styrofoam. EPS recycling and XPS bans are important to us because styrofoam is carcinogenic to humans, it does not decompose, and styrofoam and plastics are the largest source of marine litter in our waterways, which is expensive to clean up and it kills our wildlife. Wyckoff and Oakland both held EPS collections in April. The Wyckoff collection was sponsored by Women for Progress, which is we have about 2,000 members in Bergen County. We collected 112 carloads, which equaled 218 pounds, and it was 14 cubic yards. From the start of the EPS recycling program, there have been 262 carloads collected, equaling 938 pounds, which is 58 cubic yards. In April, 7 styrofoam-free business awards were issued. Fairlawn and Oradell both held styrofoam education events, and the EPS ban in Leonia is going well. Efforts to ban styrofoam are underway in other municipalities now. Coming in May, there'll be an EPS recycling event in Ridgefield Park on May 11th, and there will be an EPS recycling event in Ridgewood on May 18th. And in May, Ridgefield Park will begin their permanent EPS. In May, Ridgefield Park will begin their permanent EPS recycling program, which brings that total to 3 municipalities, and then 8 are in the process of adding EPS recycling as well. So our ask is that we pass the XPS ban for county properties and institute a permanent recycling program for styrofoam in the county. And then on a quick separate note, but important, Women for Progress is also a co-sponsor of the March for Our Lungs project to reject the Meadowlands power plant. Thank you.
Can I speak to the styrofoam issue for a minute? This has been something that we've been working on in the county for a long time, and making sure that we're not having styrofoam as part of anything that we're purchasing in any of our departments. We phased it out, and we've been working diligently through our purchasing department to make sure that we're using biodegradable alternatives. Both, there were certain challenges of making sure that our Meals on Wheels program and our kosher meals in the jail, I think, is the one thing that's holding it up, actually. But there are, basically at this point in time, none of our departments are utilizing styrofoam. It is something that we hope to codify ordinance at some point once we can get this one little challenge in the jail solved. But it is something that we, as an administration, as this board, we've been very vocal on advocating and making sure, because we don't want to see our vendors utilizing this. It will be part of our RFP process going forward as far as individuals who are doing business with the county and selling products within the county as well. So it is something that's at the forefront of our mind. We don't want to see this in our water supplies. This is something that the administration has been really proactive and really diligent in trying to work through alternatives to solve. So thank you so much for your efforts, and it is making a difference, even 938 pounds at a time. So thank you.
Would you say anything? No, it's Karen with K, Nickerson, Nickeson. And I'm the Conservation Chair of Bergen County Audubon Society, and I'm here to represent our more than 2,000 members in registering our opposition to the North Bergen power plant. Many of our members have actually been responsible over the decades in working towards the reclamation of the Meadowlands, and so we're very anxious not to see that work reversed in any way. So we hope that you'll consider passing the resolution to oppose. Thank you.
Paula, go.
I'm Paula Rogovin from Teaneck, New Jersey. When I saw a while ago that there were going to be, there are 4 women Bergen County freeholders, I was very excited, and I thought, this is really important because the women will probably pay special attention to issues concerning women and children. I thought that the information we provided to you over the many, many months about the frack gas Meadowlands power plant would result in you enthusiastically joining 50 Bergen County town councils and passing a resolution to oppose the power plant. We thought the information about the risks to children's health from ground level ozone, smog, and its potential to damage people with further damage people with asthma and other lung and respiratory diseases, the potential from the particulate matter and other emissions to damage women's reproductive health, to bring on more stillborn babies, miscarriages and birth defects, and damage to our health from other pollutants. We thought that would be of special concern to you. I have to say that while leafleting at North Bergen High School today, Cassandra, who was the first person who spoke about this, Cassandra Worthington, when we looked over the meadowlands from the high school, it was smog. We saw so much smog. And in fact, she did have an asthma attack. That's before another power plant would be added. Okay? This is real stuff. This is real stuff, real asthma attacks. Despite all the information about airborne and possible waterborne pollutants, we've been told by some of you this is not a Bergen County problem. Some of us spoke, though, last week at the BCUA meeting, where they passed a resolution for a cooperation agreement and transfer of money to the North Bergen Liberty Generating Corporation. They asked us, though, to meet with them. They were very concerned about some of our environmental questions, environmental concerns. They're very well aware that it is a Bergen County problem. So it's not true that it's not a Bergen County problem. They said it is a Bergen County issue. I'm actually shocked to see that not one of you, male or female, has been willing to introduce a resolution opposing the power plant. Instead, from both men and women on this Freeholder board, we keep being told that passing a resolution would be ornamental, that the Meadowlands power plant is not a Bergen County problem, or we just get silence. I will use the rest of my time, if there is any, for silence. Let me just finish this, and then the rest will be silence. I hope you'll think about this. And at the end of my silence, I will ask you again, on the behalf of our huge coalition of organizations and residents, if you would pass a resolution to oppose the Meadowlands power plant. In future elections, we will remember. We'll either remember your silence or your resolve to, or your resolution to protect our health.
Ma'am, that was time.
I was here a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure you remember the question that I asked at that time, but I'll refresh your memory. This had to do with whether you were told by the sheriff or given a document, and this came up tonight from some Freeholder Tonelli. The percentages of detainees who are no risk, low risk. There is an assessment that is given to the sheriff. It's on a piece of paper. I asked for this in an Oprah request. I haven't gotten a response yet, but I've done my own research. And I would appreciate it if you could give me more updated numbers. So this comes from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University. And this is from June 2018. I have one for each of you. And for Bergen County, out of the 428 detainees less than a year ago, 161, which is around 37%, please check my math on this, no conviction whatsoever. All the major crimes, if you're looking for serious crimes, are in the single digits. I would like updated numbers, and you said you would be able to help us get that. I would appreciate that. This is national. The vast majority, 58% of individuals in ICE custody last June, had no criminal record. This is national. I had an opportunity to listen to an extraordinary individual who was tormented, severely beaten in Africa and Nigeria because he was gay, and he was able to escape. He spoke to us Sunday night at the Northern New Jersey Sanctuary Coalition. His name is Idafi Okpuro, and he was able to get over to this country. He was picked up by ICE as soon as he arrived and sent to a detention center in Essex County. I'm only going to read one line from what he wrote here. Asylum seekers were treated like criminals at the borders. The officer would treat you more like a common thief or a drug dealer caught crossing the border. They gave no consideration to someone fleeing their country. If you're interested in the book, but I would like to pass out these pieces of paper. Is that okay? Was that over my time? Yeah. No, take the book. Thank you very much.
Good try. That was a good try. Diane Scarangella, I'm from New Jersey. Scarangella. I'm here representing Northern New Jersey Now, the Displaced Homemakers Network, and the Resistance Cafe. Approximately a month or so ago, I received a letter from Freeholder Sullivan saying that the power plant was not an issue in Bergen County. We couldn't do anything about it in Bergen County because it's a Hudson County issue. At the time, I was kind of appalled by that because it seemed like an abdication of responsibility. I live 3 miles from where this, or 4 miles from where this plant would be. And I believe you do as well. You're in Palisade Park, correct?
No.
You're in Palisade Park? Yes. Used to, well, then you know. I mean, that's right there. The air does not, the air doesn't respect a boundary. So regardless of what's happening, it is an issue in Bergen County, and I think that I don't understand why there isn't a resolution, especially since the majority of towns agree with that there should be and have signed resolutions themselves. I don't understand why there's a resolution, why you all haven't put a resolution together yet. I'd like to think that it didn't have anything to do with the amount of advocacy that the unions have made for the jobs that will last approximately 1 year and go away. And then 24 people will continue to man that plant. I say man that plant, and I mean it. We'll man that plant for the rest of the time. So we're going to allow a plant to be built for 24 people to have jobs? I think there's a lot more jobs that we can come up with for those people than 24 jobs. So I know a lot of you, I know some of you, I know Tracy, I've talked to you, I know your heart's in the right place. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to say, please, think about what we're doing here. This is a precedent. These plants can be going up all over the state. Why aren't we doing renewable energy? That's what this government said we should be doing. Why aren't we advocating for that? Your stance, whether it's symbolic or not, if you put a resolution together, you make a statement to the rest of the state. And I think that's a statement that should be made. We take the lead in Bergen County, like the styrofoam. I'm really pleased with that. Leonia was one of the first. We were very successful in it. If we can get all of the towns around us to also be going along with it, and the businesses. I can't tell you how many times I go into a business or I go to a restaurant, they give me a styrofoam container, I'm sick of it. I see it in some of the schools too. I see it in some of the county schools. Well, I'm appreciating that so much I cannot tell you. But I wish you would do the same advocacy that you've done for the styrofoam and hopefully for plastic bags, getting rid of them. I wish you would do the same advocacy against this power plant, because it really is something that will harm us for years to come. And then when it's done, it's going to sit there for years, just taking up space, because no one's going to be responsible for it, and it's going to look like some of the stuff that's sitting alongside the river now and just disintegrating. And that's what's going to happen. That will happen with
That
it.
is time.
So thank you very much for listening.
Good evening. Yes, Norbert, Norbert, Langer, Langer. I'm a retired Bergen County teacher from Park Ridge High School for over 30 years. And I'm still connected to and care very deeply about the hundreds of families that I taught in that town over my career. I'm also one of the coordinators of FRFF, a new name now, Franciscan Response to Fossil Fuels. We were just fracking, we've expanded to fossil fuels. One of the groups that has supported the coalition. We're a North Jersey faith-based advocacy group motivated by Pope Francis's call in his encyclical Laudato Si to care for our common home. That is the earth, all its creatures, and especially our brothers and sisters. We stand in solidarity with all the people and organizations who have formed the coalition to oppose the construction of the Meadowlands gas power plant, an unnecessary facility which will inevitably cause severe damage to our environment and to the health of neighboring residents for generations to come. We therefore strongly and respectfully urge you to pass a resolution opposing the power plant. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening, my name is Alexis, Alexis, Larkin, Larkin. I live in Glen Rock, New Jersey. I'm here tonight to oppose the for-profit immigration prison that you're running at the Bergen County Jail and to ask again about how you're accounting for it in the budget. I want to take you at your word that you're against these immoral policies of the Trump administration, but as a resident, I'm not seeing action to back up those words. As an example, for 3 months, I've tried to learn how much Bergen County makes off of jailing immigrants after expenses. No one in the Sheriff's Department, Finance Department, or anyone in this governing body has been able to give me an answer. I want to ask again tonight, do any of you know how much the county makes for after expenses from this contract?
We'll let you finish because we addressed the revenue issue, and rather than take your time.
I understand that, and I guess I'll address that as a resident. Nobody's buying that. The jail isn't going anywhere. The Sheriff's Department isn't going anywhere if you get rid of this contract. There are fixed costs involved with the Sheriff's Department and the jail that will be there whether you have the contract or not. I can assume that there is an incremental cost per day for each person that's kept at the jail under the contract. And that's what we're talking about. It costs, you get $110 a day, how much does it cost you to keep that person there in jail? If you haven't asked that question, you definitely have the chance to. You had the chance at the Sheriff's Department budget meeting to ask for that kind of accounting. If you take your oversight of the budget seriously, you should ask that question. And if you haven't, I have to assume as a resident that you don't want to know the answer. You don't want to know how much money we're getting from separating families and engaging in Trump's deportation policies to add to our general revenue, which goes to our parks, our roads, and everything else we enjoy in Bergen County. So I've asked you before in emails and at meetings to treat this revenue instead of general revenue as trust revenue. Have any of you considered doing that? Is there any reason you would not create a trust to put the revenue from this contract into so that we could then track how it's spent? Okay, I guess the same silence in response to my emails. Yeah, so I don't know what to say. If you're going to expect us to believe that you don't believe in these policies, you're going to have to show us some action that backs that up. You're going to have to show us that you're holding the Sheriff's Department to account, that you're engaging in budget oversight to understand how much money we're making off of this contract. And if you're going to tell us you don't need the revenue, you're going to have to understand how much it is. Really, so many of you, I vote for you, I believe in you. I am so upset that you have not done the work to answer your residents' questions. Thank you.
So Chairwoman, just to reiterate, and I understand the residents' questions with regard to the per diem. Now the jail, the funding and the financing of the jail, to her point, is static. It has not gone up to accommodate the ICE detainees. So there has been no budget adjustments or alterations to adjust ICE detainees. The cost of the Sheriff's Department, the cost to operate the jail, none of those costs have been tied to detaining ICE detainees. The jail facility is there, the medical facility that's within the jail, the meals, nothing is ordered specially for ICE detainees. So I guess technically, if you wanted to do some sort of back of the napkin math, if the jail is $48 million a year to operate, that's $131,506.84 per day to operate. And there was a number at one point talking about there was 421 persons in the jail. So if you want to do a per diem rate on that, that's $312. So if that's the census at the jail at any particular time, it's $312 a day. So if your analysis is whether the ICE detainees are profitable, if it's $110 a day for an ICE detainee, then no, it's not profitable. And despite the fact we don't make a profit regardless, we've had the jail contract for years. And there's actually a state law that requires us to take federal detainees regardless. So with regard to the advent of the ICE detainees, there was a negotiated number that the federal government has reached with various counties in terms of a per diem rate to accommodate for ICE detainees. But just to reiterate, we do not profit on it. And if it went away tomorrow, we would still be operating the jail at $48 million a year, as we, so I fully agree with the resident, I'm sure the freeholders do as well, that the sheriff would go on and the jail would go on. So it hasn't been dependent on ICE detainee revenue because it has never been to the numbers it is now that it's been under the Trump policy. If a new president comes in 2020 and the policy changes and there's no ICE detainees, the jail will go on and it will meet its responsibility that if the other federal detainees are because of some other criminal charges rather than ICE detention, they'll have an obligation to take those detainees. But just to clarify the financial question, I guess that would be the best way to break it down, but we do not allocate dollars specifically for ICE detainees.
Thank you. Buddy Jensen.
It's Buddy, B-U-D-D-Y, J-E-N-S-S-E-N. I'm the chairman of the North Jersey Sierra Club. I'm sure you've seen me around all the time. And I just want to ask you regarding the power plant. I know it's like beating a dead horse and everything, right? But we're all Democrats here, right? And we all want the same things, right? So I don't see the point, why are we going to have a power plant when we don't want the pollution, we don't need the energy, and we will get some jobs. What we should really be concentrating now is why aren't we doing the windmills and the turbines down in South Jersey? And what about the plastic bag bill that's been stalled and all these other things? But anyway, thanks. Take care.
Sally Gillard.
Good evening. Sally Gillett from Woodcliff Lake. I'm a bit concerned about the notion of taking overflow prisoners from Rikers Island, which I believe is a New York State prison, not a federal prison. So is that under the contract with the marshal, or is that another contract with the state of New York? I think we may consider separately whether that's appropriate. I was at an event at Middlesex County College this morning and heard from American Friends Service Committee and Legal Services, who pointed out that there are a wide range of items covered under the heading of criminal, that this could include anything from a violent crime to a 4th-degree shoplifting charge, that anyone who becomes known to ICE is subject to detention in a prison, that the priorities that were in place under the previous administration, which itself deported many, many people, are no longer in place. Rather than using the reduction in jail population to take more prisoners from ICE, I would rather see a cap on the number of detainees and then extra space used for ESL and GED classes, for contact visits, and so forth. I am concerned about the details of the proposed tablet program. There could be a benefit to prisoners, both of the county and of ICE, but it could also be used as a profit center depending on charges, as the phone service was before deferring to the state contract. So I hope that is designed very carefully to keep the cost low for the prisoners, especially for the essential services, and not to become a revenue stream for us or for a for-profit company. On the topic, the other thing is I understand that the Attorney General is willing to work with counties to reduce or eliminate ICE contracts if the county is interested. You guys have to make that request. On the topic of the Meadowlands Power Plant, I point out again that pollution does not know political boundaries. That by your silence on this topic, despite repeated requests for a resolution, including at least 49 town resolutions, you are missing an opportunity to convey to our concerns to the state legislature and to the DEP. The March for Our Lungs would be a great opportunity for such a resolution. Something else that would be great to see the county do, if you have not yet, is to phase out individual water bottles at meetings and programs. Thank you.
Kandolski.
Good evening, Freeholders. My name is Ken Dolsky, and I'm also a member of the Coalition Against the Building Pipeline, one of the 40 or so organizations that have signed the letter that you received this evening. However, I do have some other comments, and these comments reflect my opinions, and while many others may occur, I'm only speaking for myself. I have spoken to you at least 3 or 4 times recently describing the dangers to Bergen County residents from the proposed Meadowlands Power Plant. I have listened along with you to similar remarks and pleas from many others, including those that we've heard tonight. So far, the only comments I have heard from you is that you are impotent to do anything about this project and directions to go talk to the Hudson County freeholders. Other than those comments, you have sat stone-faced throughout it. What am I to make of this? First, I find your claims of impotency lack credibility. You are a powerful body in a powerful county, and you have influence over a Democratic governor and other officials. When something is happening that is detrimental to you and your county, which is outside your direct control, you use your influence to fix it. I do not believe you when you say there is nothing you can do. 50 Bergen County towns who have less influence than you, yet they found the courage to speak out and thought it worth their time and effort. As the students of Parkland, Florida said, to show their frustration with their non-supportive government, we call BS. Parenthetically, I am not in any way comparing the situation to a shooting. I am just describing my frustration with unsupportive, unresponsive, and non-communicative government officials. Therefore, I can only conclude that you think we are lying about the threat to residents, or you just don't care. If you thought our claims were false, I would expect you would have challenged us. But none of you have said a word about our claims. As a result, I can only conclude that you just don't care. You don't care if you, your families, friends, and all residents of Bergen County suffer for 30 to 40 years from increased levels of ozone and other pollutants, not to mention the associated increase in greenhouse gases. If you cared, you would say something. If you are sitting there thinking that you need to respond to my comments by telling me how much you do care, don't bother. It will only ring hollow in light of your continued silence and inaction. If, on the other hand, you say you would be willing to have an open, frank dialogue on this subject and share your thoughts with us, I and my colleagues would be delighted to take you up on such an offer. Don't forget, action talks, BS walks.
Shaw, S-H-A-W, Hackensack, New Jersey. I just simply want to say, I'm just so disappointed that you're not considering a resolution against the Meadowlands Power Plant. Clearly, it will affect the residents' health of Bergen County and the rest of the state and the general area. There's just no good that can come out of this plant. We are trying to get to a greener world. The situation is desperate. This is one small piece. It won't cost you anything to get on board with the green movement. Let's do this right away and get there as soon as we can before we all leave this planet. Thank you.
Sorry, Corinne, C-A-R-I-N-N-E, Murphy,
Thank you.
Bergen County. Just want to say I'm missing a steak right now and a cocktail, so for this, because it's really important to me, and I'm really hangry and really tired. So I'm not being personally offensive, I'm just exhausted and hungry. As another resident just provided statistics, and I have been saying this repeatedly at almost every meeting of the Freeholders, we have civil offenders in our jail. It's shown nationally, and it's shown right in our county. You have the numbers to review. Originally, when I first went to the sheriff, when I found out about this, he said at a public meeting, I'm not sure if it was recorded, that we have about 20% non-MS-13s. And now we have the statistics, and it shows about 40%. So again, my elected officials are not being open and honest with me, and it's a problem. OPA requests have not been answered. Numerous people came up here stating that they put OPA requests. I get told one thing, and then when I get actual facts, it's incorrect, and it's grossly incorrect. So I'm very disappointed in my elected officials. That's my first point. To your comments, Mr. Tonelli, excuse me, about the 40% of the non-MS-13s, now you know. As I said at the last meeting, we need to stop our sheriffs from just babysitting civil offenders, and we have to actually put them outside to protect our community. That's their job. They're not doing that sitting in the jail. So again, we're paying their salaries as taxpayers, but they're not really keeping me safe. It worries me. On top of it, we do know that most of the people on the immigrant side of the jail come from New York. So whether or not they're MS-13s or not, let's say they are MS-13s in the jail, which we know they do exist. Those are really criminal offenders. You're bringing them into my community. I don't want criminals in my community. So again, the jail's mission statement is to keep me safe, and I don't feel safe when criminals are being moved into my community. Just wanted to make that very clear. I don't feel like the Freeholders are learning anything about this issue, yet they make budgeted decisions about where our money is and what's happening. I don't see any one of you at any of these immigrant advocacy meetings where they present ICE agents, where they present people from different advocacy groups. Every time we have an immigration discussion, none of the Freeholders seem to be really knowledgeable in an issue that you're making budget decisions on. We just had a moment of silence for a mass shooting. We know of swastikas and other hate crimes occurring right here in Bergen County. Jailing innocent minority offenders is spreading this hate. We need to do better. We need to end the contract. Do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
O-L-Y-N. It's my first name. A-M-O-R-E-S hyphen F-A-R-I-E-L-L-O.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn Morris. I'm supposed to be in class right now, but I figured I'd just come to say a couple words. I go to FDU. I'm a graduate student. So this is a very general statement. I won't take up much of your time with facts and statistics about the power plant and about ICE, as I'm sure you guys know better than probably I do at this point. We can all attest that we need to stop the burning of fossil fuels and aim towards alternative solutions. We can attest that ICE violates human rights on a daily basis. Individuals with no criminal history are being detained and deported with no path to citizenship. The reason why I came to speak to you today is because even though I live in North Bergen, I am a graduate student and an undergraduate student of Fairleigh Dickinson University here in Teaneck. So for the last 4 years, I have considered Bergen County my home as well. Hudson County and Bergen County are sister counties. It is important to advocate and spread awareness, not only in Hudson County, but in sister counties as well, just like Essex. I hope that a resolution is passed or some kind of communication against the power plant and ICE is expressed as well. I also hope that contracts with ICE are finished because the money being received from this county, either profitable or not, is blood money. It is time for officials that are elected into office to make wise and conscious decisions to better the people that you serve. It is time for you to use your platform to help and stop issues that affect us and the people who receive it around your county. Change will happen. We see it all around the U.S. And it would be great to see all of you on the path with us, because if not, respectfully, you will be voted out. Thank you.
May I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just wanted to make a statement that we don't incarcerate people. I don't want people to keep saying we incarcerate them. We have a contract with the federal government in which they bring them from the federal prison from New York and they're brought here. And we don't have the authority to pick and choose who they bring to the jail in Bergen County. And I don't agree with the federal policies whatsoever. They are going to be sent somewhere. Just because they don't come here, they don't just go somewhere else. They're going to go somewhere. And thank God that we have the opportunity to give them all the resources in which they can be properly cared for, or properly be represented, or have them close to their families, because that's what first friends is what they're actually, that's what their most important is for them, that they're able to see their families. Unless it's better for them to be sent to the Midwest or to the South and separate them. I don't know if that's better for you. I'm not exactly sure what exactly you want us to do, but we're trying to do the best thing for them. And now we want to invest more into the jail, in which they can have contact with their families or do whatever we can, but we do reinvest all this money into the jail. There is no profit. There's no profit that we have here. We care about the people. You make us sound like, I'm not exactly sure what you're trying to make us sound like, but that's not our position, that's not how we feel, and we do care about the people. So it's insulting with some of the remarks I would make tonight, but thank you.
We are horrified, as horrified as you are, by Trump's anti-immigrant policies. We believe that immigrants, through the ages, have brought America energy. We feel much better. We hate these policies, but this is the reality America is living in right now, and we feel it is. We feel more comfortable with them.
You can arrest me if you like for speaking out of turn. I will be 78 years old.
You have your time to speak, we have our time to speak.
But that is our thought
You
process.
said it
We
was
don't
a
want
This is absolutely
Will the clerk
ridiculous.
read the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Resolutions of consent on tonight's agenda are 44019 through 51019.
May I have a motion to accept the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairwoman Amoroso.
Yes.
Freeholder Gantz.
Aye.
Freeholder Sally is absent. Freeholder Tonelli.
Yes.
Freeholder Foss. Freeholder Zerb.
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Yes.
With 6 ayes, the consent agenda passes.
Are there any resolutions not consent or tabled?
There are none.
We will now go on to our ordinances for second reading and adoption of ordinance 1910. Will the clerk read ordinance 1910 by title only?
Ordinance 1910 is an ordinance establishing a fee schedule for the American Dream Project located in the borough of East Rutherford. The proof of publication of the ordinance notice of public hearing was published in accordance with the law and is on file in my office. A copy of the notice of hearing and ordinance number 1910 was duly posted pursuant to NJSA 48:2-17 on Thursday, April 18, 2019.
May I have a motion to open the hearing on ordinance 19 to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open with a 5-minute time limit in effect to speak about ordinance 1910 only at this time. The board attorney will keep the time. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 1910?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any board discussion on ordinance 1910?
Chairwoman, I just want to say in brief, this is the establishment of a fee schedule for our health inspectors who will deal with everything from restaurants, American Dream, the pool, even vending machines. Vending machines.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance
So
1910? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Omarosa?
Yes.
Freeholder Gantz? Freeholder Sullivan is absent. Freeholder Snelly?
Yes.
Freeholder Foss?
Yes.
Freeholder Zerk?
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz?
Yes.
With 6 ayes, ordinance 1910 is adopted and passes second reading.
We will now have the Freeholder Committee reports. Freeholder Gantz.
I have a report on H.R. 1876, the federal statute, which is being debated on the floor of the House. This is the Social Security Act of 2019. I had the privilege of appearing with Congressman Gottheimer yesterday. I asked him my remarks be placed in full in the record. And I will not speak further on it. Except to say that it deserves our support at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Gantz. Freeholder Zerk.
Thank you, Chairwoman. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of our amazing employees who made Take Your Child to Work Day such a special day on Thursday. I think it's probably the last one that my daughter's going to be young enough to really enjoy. So I just wanted to thank all of our employees for making that day so special, exposing our kids to what our county does and the services that our government provides. So really, if you please pass along our gratitude for making that day so special. Also, I wanted to underscore that Skills Assessment Day for Project Search is this Friday. You can still sign up for Project Search if you have a young adult who is in their last year of education, who is uniquely able, who is ready and eager to have a immersive work opportunity, internship, 3 different internships in the course of the year that give that person who is disabled an opportunity to tap into what it is that they're passionate about being and really focus on their abilities, not their disabilities. Project Search is the place for you. Please go to bergenworkforce.org/Project Search and get the information. It is not too late to still sign up. Chairman, you gave a moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting for the shooting that took place on Saturday, which was the second time in 6 months where a synagogue was attacked. And for me, it's very personal. My heart was broken again. And for that to happen in a house of worship, let alone my house of worship, I think of my grandfather who fled Latvia during the rise of Hitler and was one of their only family members to survive the Holocaust. And his hope that this country, that this promise of freedom would be different. So to see this attack was something that was painful, but it wasn't alone. We had 3 black churches burned in Louisiana. mosques receiving threats and have been attacked, and hatred has become commonplace. Ours is a country that was primarily founded on freedom of religion, and we've grown and prospered as a nation because our diversity is our strength. And yet now we're living in this time where many spew divisive rhetoric and choose to stoke those flames of hatred. As Americans, as humans, we have to embrace one another and celebrate one another, and most of all, respect one another. That's something we even have to remember when we disagree and when we have differences of opinion. As Dr. King once said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Tomorrow is Yom HaShoah, a day dedicated to remembering the victims of the Holocaust. And on this day, we don't just remember the lives lost, but we remind ourselves of the devastation that occurs when hate is left unchecked. So tomorrow, as I light my candle to remember those who have passed, I'm also doing so in hopes that we may all be a source of the light and the love that will fight the hate that we're seeing. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Freeholder, sir. Freeholder Amoroso?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman. My Freeholder colleagues and myself, we've gone to a wide assortment of events on a wide range of issues. On Tuesday, last Tuesday, Freeholder Ortiz and I attended the Human Services Advisory Council and heard a talk about the C-section rate, which is amazingly high in New Jersey, and maternal death rate after birth, which is incredibly high. They pointed out that here in Bergen County, I won't name the hospitals, but one hospital has a C-section rate of 16%. 5 miles away, another hospital has a rate of 40% C-sections. And so they're talking about how prospective parents really have to get educated about this and ask the questions. That was on Tuesday. Wednesday, I participated in Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, remembering the start of the ethnic cleansing by the Ottoman Empire of Armenians. They say as many as 1.5 million Armenians died as a result, and yet the Turkish government still gets in a huff when someone remembers Armenian genocide. That was Wednesday. Thursday, I went to the renaming of the Oakland Post Office for the late Oakland Postmaster Frank Leone, who has the distinction of being the last postmaster named in New Jersey by a president, because immediately after that, the post office became its own agency. It was not under the federal government. Saturday, Autism Awareness Day at the zoo, and also we went to a number of events for Rebuilding Together North Jersey, when our friends in the unions, union carpenters and pipe fitters and plumbers and electricians, go out and help needy homeowners fix their houses, which they couldn't otherwise do. And today I attended the second in the sheriff's presentations to law enforcement officials and faith-based communities, because it is coming up upon Ramadan. And he did this also for Passover. And as Tracy said, you know, we're in a world where people shoot you while you are praying because they do not like your religion. So we are committed, of course, in Bergen County to providing extra law enforcement protections during times of increased risk for these high holy days. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Amoroso. Freeholder Boss.
Okay. We forget so soon. One of the things that I'm very proud of here in Bergen County, because I listen to people talking about how our prisoners are treated, we really care about people. And I have to say that we have one of the finest homeless shelters in probably the United States. And we make sure that the people who are in the homeless shelter are very well fed. In fact, most organizations, one of which is the Rotary, go in and bring wonderful food in. We make sure they have all of the health services that they possibly can, all the testing, all the rehabilitation. So we really do care tremendously about all of our students, all of our citizens. I am and have always been probably a history teacher, so I'm just going to make mention of the fact that the Armenian genocide was remembered. It started in 1915, and nobody paid attention to that genocide. The very first bill I prepared for in the New Jersey Assembly was the recognition of the genocide, and we got it passed. Unfortunately, our government on the federal level has not recognized it, but it was the start in the 20th century of some very horrible things. We thought that tomorrow's Yom HaShoah, and we're going to be remembering the horrible Holocaust. When Hitler was planning the Holocaust, he said to his people, "Do you remember the Armenians?" And everybody said, "Who are the Armenians?" He said, "That's what we're going to do to the Jews." Okay? And so it's very important that we remember our history, because history does repeat itself. And Mary brought out the point that people try not to remember things, and they say the Ottomans did it, but the modern day Turks are the Ottomans, and so we have to remember. I have to say thank you to Jim Feeberry, who is the head of our disabilities. Autism is rampant, and I think now statistics change all the time, but about 1 in 30 boys is on the spectrum. And I think in New Jersey we do wonderful diagnostic services, but it's something that we really have to find out where it comes from, and we don't know where it comes from. And there isn't any one-size-fits-all in terms of understanding autism. Every case is an individual case. Today, many of us went to Bergen Community College, which we all call the jewel in the crown of Bergen County. And as an educator, I was very, very happy to see the STEM research lab opened up today. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And we have to encourage all of our students who have the ability in this area. One of my main interests at this point in time is to make sure that students are studying to engage in professions where there is a need for the profession. We have to bring back vocational education. And I think Bergen Community is a wonderful, wonderful way to get a great education and a good head start on many, many things that maybe you don't know about when you're in high school, but you will learn about it for a community. And I can't praise the school enough. I've seen it grow over the last 50 years, and today probably is among the best community college in the United States, not just New Jersey. It is the best in New Jersey, but the United States. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Freeholder.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So today, as we close out Volunteer Month, I spent lunchtime with my seniors down at North Arlington Senior Center. I just want to again reiterate from this board how proud we are and how thankful we are for everyone that volunteers, whether it be first responders, our volunteers at our centers. Without you, we couldn't possibly experience the quality of life that we have here in Bergen County. It's the volunteers that make it what it is today. And I just want to close by congratulating Lara Rodriguez on her re-election to the Hackensack Board of Education for her third term. Just always remember, Lara, that's 3 times that the people of Hackensack have entrusted you and believe in you and what you're doing on that board, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. The people of Hackensack believe in you. So congratulations. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. This past few weeks, we've had a lot of press conference coming to Bergen County. Starting, I know we had our Congressman Josh Gottheimer came by. I think it was in Fairlawn that he introduced the Bipartisan Senior Security Act, which will help stop financial predators from scamming seniors out of their savings by creating the Senior Investor Task Force within the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC.
The Security Act will stop financial predators from scamming seniors out of their savings by finding ways to strengthen protections and safeguards for seniors, and by creating a senior investment task force at the Securities and Exchange Commission that was exclusively focused on how seniors are being targeted by fraudsters and those who seek to take financial advantage of them. Older Americans lose approximately $3 billion each year to financial scams and abuse. And it's something that we really need to focus on and have elders stop being exploited each year. So thank you to the congressman who will be introducing this with, also with Trey Hollingsworth. We also had Senator Bob Menendez come by and introduce the Pride Act. He was reading from the Mueller report the findings about Russia and foreign adversaries are seeking to disrupt the 2020 election and demanding Congress to act. And we're facing evolving cyber threats from many foreign actors such as Russia to Iran to China and North Korea. And he wants to defend the security of our elections, and especially our democracy, which our country is founded on. And he's implementing or improving the use of audible paper ballots just in case that our electronics or electronic version are disrupted. We have an audible paper ballot. And he also wants to have more grant funds to help us with more cybersecurity, and National Institute and Standards of Technology provides a framework for critical infrastructure to guard against our cyber threats. So it's something definitely that we should be, definitely something that we could be looking into in regards to our next election. And I was also very honored to be invited by Governor Murphy, who came to Fairleigh Dickinson and held a roundtable with all the mayors throughout the county of Bergen. We discussed his budget. He also discussed about the budget tolls, because he sat with Governor Cuomo in regards to that, because he would like a seat at the table. There's no reason why residents of New Jersey should be paying a double toll. We're already paying a toll from the tunnels and the bridge, and we should not be paying one to enter Midtown as well. And it was a great, way to discuss macro and micro issues regarding New Jersey and also different municipalities throughout the county. So that was great to be discussing. And on Saturday, we had National Rebuilding Day, and we were lucky to get together with the IDW 164, the electricians, which our colleague Freeholder Sullivan is not here with us, but they had about 50 or 60 electricians who volunteered with Rebuilding Together, which is an organization that goes out to homes to help a lot of people that they cannot afford to be able to rebuild their homes. And I was lucky enough to attend the one in Fair Lawn, which was a elderly woman who's a widow, and she can't see. She's visibly impaired. So they were able to help her home, change all her lighting, they fixed her decks, and it's almost like we gave her another life. So I just want to thank the organization. I want to thank all the union employees from IDW just for changing the life, for her and for the other 5 families that were involved throughout that day. But that'll conclude my report, and there being nothing further to come before this meeting, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:40 p.m.